Hey everyone! Lost Ark Russia Open Beta launches on October 27th and it's going to be free to play. The wait is almost over. I'll do my best to sum up all the details you need to know, including details on available content and some of the questions answered during Q&A session with the publisher yesterday. Here's what we will cover in this video and what was covered during the presentation. CBT results, OBT info and details, monetization and roadmap for future updates. Starting off with CBT results, you can see right now on your screen. Just to focus here on the data I find interesting, 20,000 people that have completed the feedback survey after playing the game doesn't really sound like a lot to me, considering this is an MMO release in 2019 and quite a lot of people had CBT access. Hopefully population will be high enough to fill all the servers when game is fully free to play. Another thing here, out of 1680 bug reports, only 257 were considered important enough to fix. Totally not impressed by this stat, to be honest. Might have been less negative about this if not for the fact that absolutely nothing changed from alpha build to beta build in terms of in-game bugs, translations issues and skill mechanic issues. Hopefully at least the most vital bugs will be fixed, but yeah, 15% of bug reports being acted upon, not impressed at all. Now to the juicy stuff on the next slide. Preload from October 18th, character pre-creation October 21st, 1 PM Moscow time, head start October 24th, 3 PM Moscow time, full free-to-play launch October 27th, 3 PM Moscow time. The only thing to add here is that I know a lot of us have waited a long time for this, but I can't help but feel that this release is a bit rushed. Let's hope there won't be any issues because of that. Here's the list of all the content that will be available to us upon the start of Open Beta. As you can see, that's saying that we'll have 6 continents, so no Royandel or Western Sea at launch. Adventure Book and PC Affinity Collection Stub and so on will be available though. No card game at launch, we'll be able to get cards as rewards and start our collections, but that's it. Ocean content with 49 Island and world bosses. Not gonna lie, a tiny bit disappointed that they won't finish the voiceover, not because I like the Russian voiceover, but because they removed Korean one from the game. Meaning that a lot of cutscenes and NPC will be just mute, which is just, I don't know. Obviously this is a lot bigger deal for Russian audience, not so much for us I guess. Next slide, and as you can see at launch we'll be limited by 385 to 390 gear score, we'll have 8 Guardian raids, Chaos Dungeons, Epona dailies, Platinum Fields, Tower, Cube and Chaos Gates, nothing out of the ordinary yet. Here's where it gets interesting. Russian OBT is based upon Korean June version but with a lot of modifications, and they talked about each of these in detail on separate slides, outlining that their focus is on more comfortable gameplay and more gradual and balanced character progression. And here's where the big changes start. First of all, accessories won't have a gear score or item level associated with them anymore. This is a pretty big change considering the fact that some accessories were used to boost or balance out your gear score progress. They'll still have stats attached to them and will be enhanceable, but it looks like you'll just base your decision upon the stats you like with these. Second change, removal of the ocean gear set. It's kind of a bummer for a lot of people, but it also allowed for insanely fast progress up to a certain point and was a little bit overpowered, so I can't really say that this is a bad change. Third and most interesting, tier 1 gear from Chaos Dungeons, from Guardians, from life skills have all been reworked. Instead of having random enhancement level upon drop, Chaos Dungeon gear will now always drop in its base plus 0 state in the first dungeon level. Dungeon levels after that will drop enhancement materials to get this gear to +1, +2 and so on up to +5. You could say that tier 1 progression is a lot more focused on enhancing gear and weapons than it was in Korea. So put simply, we'll have 4 tier 1 gear sets: PvP set, life skill set, Guardian set and Chaos Dungeon set. And right now it looks like all of these have been reworked, not just in the ways you obtain them. For example, the set creation recipes for life skill sets have been changed, but it seems that enhancement materials for all of these were also changed, either amount or materials themselves. My.Games producer also mentioned that while the ways of obtaining these 4 are quite different, they should require around the same amount of time and effort to obtain. We'll see if this turns out to be true, I guess. Now, to the content that was removed based on feedback from Korean players. PvP seals were removed. Based on what the producer said, these seem to be PvP skill runes that modify your skills for PvP arenas that were giving you some additional benefits, like CC immunity or break, additional dodge on some classes, and so on. Apparently, these were deemed to be unbalanced and were removed. He even added that there's no talks about reworking these and adding them back later on. On the contrary, he said that Smilegate also planned to remove this in their own version. However, they have to be careful with approaching this, seeing as how they have to compensate their players for efforts spent on obtaining these. Guardian instant clear function was removed. This one's quite obvious. Some of the Guardian abilities that required to have a gear set runed certain way were also nerfed. Think Flame Firefox Guardian and one-shot abilities of that raid, for example, and fire resistance runes. Next up, they talked about some of the improvements made for the OBT version of the game. First is the Traveler's Book that will allow you to save certain location to later be able to teleport to the saved point. They mentioned you'll have 4 or 5 slots in it and you'll be able to use this one to fast travel to certain world bosses and whatnot. Second is expedition leveling, with you being able to get expedition experience after reaching level 50 and getting rewards from it, including crystals and some passive bonuses for battle stats. There will also be event alarm, ocean autopathing, and more customization options in character creator. Most of the collections and rewards will also be account-wide now, including Mokoko Seeds, Hearts of Islands, Giant's Hearts, Masterpieces, and achievements. On one hand, it simplifies the gameplay on your alt characters since you don't have to do all this stuff for the second time. On the other hand, it also prevents you from getting some of these rewards twice, thrice, or even more than that, which was apparently abused in Korea. They have also swapped prologue completion reward from bunny ears to goggles. I didn't translate that slide, sorry. Lastly, they mentioned that they'll try their best at being open to feedback, whatever that might mean. Next topic, monetization. My.Games claims that Cash Shop should be very similar to Korean Cash Shop in terms of assortment of available items. For some weird reason, they decided to rename Royal Crystals to Star Crystals for Asian version. This is just as weird as renaming all of the classes as far as I'm concerned, so I'll keep calling them Royal Crystals for the sake of this video. So 1 Royal Crystal equals 1 Russian ruble, and you'll be able to exchange Royal Crystals for normal blue crystals at a rate you can see on your screen depending on the bundle. Blue crystal prices in Cash Shop will be the same as they are in Korea, so if you do a bit of math, most items will be almost twice as cheap in Russia compared to Korea. Similarly to Korea, you will also get 10% loyalty bonus from the amount you spend on Royal Crystals. Meanwhile, costumes in Russian version will not be tradable, and Beatrice's Blessing was reworked. Beatrice's Blessing becomes pretty much a premium account for Russian version, the Royal Crystal prices on the screen, and if you're familiar with Korean PC cafe rewards, contents of this one will look pretty familiar to you. It includes some transportation discounts, NPC affinity buffs, daily login rewards, as well as rewards for playing up to an hour and a half per day. Last but not least, we have the roadmap for OBT. All of November will be spent on hotfixing issues, although I don't quite understand why not fix the issues and then launch the game. Oh well. Tier 2 gear, pet system, New Year's event, and PvP seasons in December. I wonder how ranked PvP will look in Russia considering recent changes in Korea. January will see GVGs, card game, and weekly raid. February we can expect the addition of Western Sea, Rowendell, and Ghost Ship raid. Looks like a pretty solid roadmap if they'll be able to follow it and not skip any dates. What it also means is that we won't be seeing Lancemaster or Assassin classes until at least March of 2020. This is where the presentation ended, and honestly, while it's a lot of info, there's still a lot of confusion, especially since we didn't get any specifics about the changes made to gear sets and such. After the presentation, they did an hour-long Q&A with attending press and guilds. You'll find the link to the transcript of the whole thing in the description below the video. Couple interesting things to touch on from there. In near future, Russia will not have armory system that allows you to inspect other people's builds and gear like Korea has. They have confirmed that PvP and Auction House will be cross-server. They have also shown changed rewards for Mokoko Seeds, Hearts of Islands, and Giant Hearts. item codex that was super useful in career will sadly also not be available for us. Before I finish this video, I'd also like to share some of my thoughts on all of this. While I am of course excited that we'll finally be able to play the game on a decent ping and without the risk of re-verification, I can't help but notice how rushed this release is. If you followed the link to Q&A and saw those reward screenshots, you might also be a bit puzzled at how useless some of them seem. I'm also quite bothered by how many times in the presentation and during Q&A they said words Korean developer. It's like they're trying to put all the responsibility for this release on Smilegate, and honestly, considering my experience, I'm just not buying it. I feel like instead of it being used in a healthy, positive way that would mean that developer is in full control of the game and release, it's being used more as an excuse in case something bad happens, which doesn't inspire confidence to say the least. We'll have to wait and see, and I really hope that my worries are for nothing. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, share this video with your friends, and leave your comments down below. What do you think about all of this? What are your thoughts on new Tier 1 gear? Do you believe the claims that Korean devs are responsible for everything good and bad? I'm interested in seeing your opinions. Oh, and also don't forget to subscribe here and follow me on Twitch. Until next time, bye!